in truth, it's the same I that says I there and says I there and says I here.
Okay.
So it is one singular I that is saying everything.
That was my question.
And so that I that speaks will, like, that's the mystery. No one knows where that I comes from. Because consciousness only wakes up to itself in its own timing to see where that I came from before. And the I feels the same where that's why you can say there's, the self and the capital S. Self, capital S, no self, capital N and S. Because there's a recognition of that one singular self, that one singular I am that is everything. And the mystery from which even that I arises from. When I say my experience, I can only speak from my experience. I've been talking about these different lenses. And these lenses are a resting place of perception that have a substance that's created for a vehicle for that whole experience to happen. So there's thoughts, emotions, physical sensations. And that vehicle of humanness, right, is usually where people say I from. Their experience of their saying I is the me. And that's the me, the seeker, that's trying to figure something else out. When consciousness wakes up to that cessation point, or the arising point of existence, there's often that experience of nothing, of no self. In the trajectory here, there's just been a continual opening up to the next layer of self, the next viewpoint, the resting point of perception in a more inclusive vehicle of consciousness that has thoughts, emotions, and a body, an energetic and physical vehicle structure for this unnameable truth to rest in and as which it is and perceive through. And so the initial awakening for people often can be, oh my God, I'm oneness. I'm one, I am. And that to me is the beginning, or one part of the beginning. And that the embodied realization of that mystery feels like a deeper realization. And so far, that is consistent in every level of self that opens up to itself, that's discovered and then embodied and realized. The same mystery is there. That it is all, so far, one singular I am, that arises, that it itself arises from that which one cannot see. Because to even perceive that, you're resting in a perceptual body, whatever size, whatever frequency. These fables or stories of a student coming up to the teacher, saying, I'm nothing, like this huge realization happening, and the teacher slapped him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that simultaneous truth of the nothingness and the impact of a hand on your flesh and feeling something. So I would never sit here and look at you and say you don't exist.
I know. I'm just,
Because I can't say that. There's a recognition of the created nature of the lens of the perceiver, right? That's created, and when you start to see through it, there's a recognition of things being an illusion. But for me, the experience is of being everything, and then this is where language sort of breaks down, but I've been speaking about it this
Yes.
whole time of, I'll talk about the arising point from that which you can't see, that everything arises out of. So I tend to not use the word illusion
okay.
because there's this profound mystery of how whatever we are is manifesting itself in such a way in this brilliant multiplicity that gets to actually have individuated experiences. But it's the one singular truth having those experiences through that lens. And so the saying you don't exist could just be language that's not being quite as precise about the self that's resting as the personality that says, I'm this. Well, when you start to see through it, you start coming into a reality that's more like a mystery. Each of these planes, or each of these dimensions of consciousness, where there's an individuated sense of self that is also one with the plane and is also one singular truth, projecting all that out into
That rings true.
experience, right? So every time you go back, it's a much larger, more inclusive organization.